Will Hunky K please cater my wedding? Are Wormtongue's words actually poison? And will Raydon be getting the smartest shoes in all of Elantris? Find out today on the most important words. Welcome.
Those are great.
Welcome to the most important words. This is a place where we like to talk about stories that matter to us. And today we're talking about Elantris. I am Clark, joined here by my co-host David. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
What do you think about these chapters?
To get back into this.
Oh, spoiler shield. Sorry, I didn't even say the chapters.
Yeah, start with spoilers.
We will be in chapters 5, 6, and 7 of Elantris today. And as always, we'll talk about them in their encapsulation within the book. Afterwards, we will then bring it up open to the Cosmere kind of towards the end. So yeah, I guess I'll just start with the first summary for chapter 5.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Okay, so I have noticed, by the way, that it seems like every single chapter, it goes in a pattern. It's Raydon, then Serene, then Hrathen, like every single time. I don't know how long this will keep up, but it has held true up till this point. Maybe it's just part 1. And I also noticed, by the way, that at the top of the chapter heading, or at the top of the chapter, all 3 of the sectioned chapters have the same symbol. And then, so for example, chapters 1, 2, 3 have the same symbol, and then 3, 4, 5 have the same symbol, which is interesting. So it makes me think that they're sort of broken up in that way. But
I'm skimming the future, like the chapter summaries,
Yeah.
and that is absolutely true, at least through a while.
Cool.
I had not caught that pattern because usually I do the audiobooks, so I don't even see the headers.
Yeah, if I hadn't seen the headers, I might not have even thought about the pattern of the 3 people. And it just so happens that the way that we're set up now is we're hitting the last 2 chapters of the section, if you want to call the little chapter header symbol a section, and then there is we're bleeding into the next one because Raydon, we did chapter 1 by itself, so we're bleeding into like the Raydon part of the next, header section.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll have to do a catch-up episode where we get back on track.
I think maybe we're good. I think we just send it, dude.
Yeah, let's go.
We always get like a sneak peek into the next like 3 chapters. Okay, chapter 5. As Serene is observing court, Hrathen makes an unexpected appearance. By the way, these are from Coppermind, as we will probably do from here on out. I have added a couple little things though that I thought were interesting. Serene explains to Ash that there are only 20 Gjorns in the entire Fjordell Empire. Hrathen confronts King Iadon, requesting that he convert to Shu-Dereth, but Iadon counters that he believes in Shu-Korath, and thus worships the same god. Though Hrathen disputes this, Iadon dismisses Hrathen and his warnings, stating that the time of Fjordell dominance is long past. After Hrathen departs, Serene and Ash discuss Iadon's ignorance of the current state of affairs and Fjordan's growing power. Serene decides that Hrathen will be a more worthy recipient of her scorn than the Arlene nobility. She realizes the danger that the Gjorn poses and worries that he will successfully convert the citizens of Kai, and frets about how that would affect the alliance with Teod. Serene also decides that Hrathen will now do everything he can to overthrow the heathen king. Iadon notices Serene's presence in his throne room and berates her for being there without permission, but Serene deflects his anger by feigning simple-mindedness along with a mock emotional outburst. She then encounters her uncle Keen, Hunky K, it doesn't say that in the summary, who she has not seen since she was a child. Serene and Keen reminisce, and Keen invites Serene to his home to meet his family. At Keen's castle-like home, they are greeted by Keen's wife, Deora, their children Kais and Deorn. Again, apologies for pronunciation.
I even with the audiobook, I can't remember how to pronounce half these names.
I do remember Kais because I was like, what even is that? I looked up the spelling and I'm pretty, well, at least the audiobook says Kais. Here, and Deora's children, so from a previous marriage, Lukel and Adian, and Lukel's wife, Jala. Over dinner, they discuss the Riod, the fall of the Arlene government, the changes to Elantris, and how the servants revolted against the Elantrians. Serene talks of her Sion Ash and how Ash has been passed down from her mother. So we get kind of a good lore dump in this chapter. We find out.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions that I've always had is, why aren't the Elantrians, like, why didn't the Elantrians, who were the Silver Surfer Elantrians, who then became the zombie ones, why weren't they, in power in Elantris? Like, if they had all this power, why didn't they continue on? And we get an answer to that. Basically, all the servants revolted and killed them all. Or killed? I don't know if that's the right word. They crushed them into the slime, which is now all over. Oh, that's a nasty thought. There's actually a couple little things that I wanted to cover. The first one was when Serene is talking to Ash about Hrathen and how dangerous he is. She mentions that there is going to be another fall of Arlon, like another political upheaval with riots, etc. And she specifically says, and this time it won't be the merchant class that fills the void of leadership. It will be the Dorethi priesthood. And so we actually learn from this, I don't know if it's like a confirmation, but I think we learned that Iadon probably came from the merchant section of Arlon. Like he must have been some kind of a merchant, or at least he was voted in as king. Like, I don't really know exactly how he rose to
they
power.
mention that too when Serene sees Hrathen, right? She's like, he's a merchant. He doesn't understand how dangerous this guy actually is. Like, she makes a mental note comment about like, oh, like that's like, he doesn't realize what a threat he is because he's a merchant. Like, he's limited in his view. So that's absolutely true.
Interesting. I missed that. That is okay. Cool. So that makes us and Serena obviously a little bit scared for the country because she's like, oh, he does not know who he's talking to. This is Igyorn. Hrathen's a scary guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
We then meet Keen, or Hunky K. I love that, by the way, Hunky K. It's just so like,
it's just something. If you've been around little kids, you realize they just absolutely call them funny names like that.
Exactly. We get a little bit of a growing up moment for Serene. She mentions to Keen that, oh yeah, my father doesn't actually know where you are, and he thought you went on a voyage and you just left. And he's like, come on, Serene, you're a little bit grown up now. Like, let's understand what's going on. Now, we don't actually know why he left, though. Like, there's sort of this assumption maybe that he's some kind of a spy in Arlon. Like, he's obviously part of the court. So, but later on in the chapter, he says, yeah, I don't really know if I really hold that title anymore.
Yeah. The title, yeah.
Maybe there was a falling out. We don't really know. Keen's family's hilarious. I really like K-Ice. She's a little fireball. I don't know how old. Oh no, actually says. I think she's like 10 or 11, maybe.
Yeah, I think she's around that age. She's like, "Why are you so tall?" That's not how princesses are supposed to be.
Picking on her cousin, I guess, because Uncle.
Yeah, it'd be her cousin. Yeah.
So yeah, after K-Ice, we meet the older son of Deora, so like from a previous marriage, and he is married to a person called, I think it's Jala. It might be Yala. But Jala is Svordish. She's in a country that is under the control of the Fjordans. I think it's Svordish. And we find out that they have recently been married, and they both met each other at like a Svordish university.
Yeah, Svordish is what they say. Yeah. Thick Svordish accent. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, this is like a slight prediction. I don't know who these people are, but they seem a little fishy. Essentially what we've got is we've got someone in the family from Greater Fjordell. So I'm wondering if these guys are going to be sort of on the side of Hrathen. If they play a role, and if we'll see them almost like turn against Serene. I don't know. That's just a slight prediction that could or could not come true.
Right, because her country is apparently a part of Fjordell.
Yeah.
Like,
to be fair, most countries are.
Eye on.
Yeah.
Right. Most of them are. And that's it's really interesting. You just gotta, I'm not trying to like not say anything. It's so weird knowing like both this story and everything
Every other
else
story.
in Cosmere, and trying to be like, I'm just gonna let Clark guide this conversation because I don't want to lead him in any way. But I love your ideas, and I don't want to like give any sort of impression of which direction anything's going to go.
And you and everybody else who's listening who knows everything is like, Clark, you're such an idiot, dude.
But it's so fun. It's so fun watching people go through the Cosmere for the first time. And you are somebody who thinks about things way more than I did. Like usually when I go through my first time, I'm just there for the ride. I'm just there for the main story, the main characters. I'm not trying to like nitpick and figure out where the connections are between all the other stuff or try to like predict where the story's going to go. I'm just like, buckle up, let's go for a ride. And then usually when I go through on my second reread, then I'm actually going through and like trying to look for every little thing, every little connection, every little, you know,
Yeah, I definitely try to
prediction.
get
Yeah.
everything at the beginning at the first time.
Which honestly, it's good. You go through slower, but you enjoy the ride so much more. And what's that famous saying in Stormlight?
Journey before
Journey before
destination.
destination, right?
At
It's
the same
all
time, I
about
still miss a
the journey.
lot. Like it's
That's
crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how many. I don't know if there's anybody that knows everything. Probably. I mean, I guess he has those folks that he has hired to know everything. But
I don't, dude. I talked to them at Dragonsteel, and they have probably documents that know everything. They themselves do not, because I asked them some questions. They're just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I was like, what was
that's
her
true.
name? I already forgot her name. Karen. Yeah, Karen. Karen Oldstrom, right? That's
That's
not it,
true.
is
Yeah.
it? I'm mixing up all their names. Karen, no. Kara. Kara is Isaac Stewart's wife. She's in charge. Anyways, there's a lot of people at Dragonsteel that I've talked to. And so Karen is one of the editors that keeps track of everything. And I talked to her,
That's
and she was
cool.
answering questions at Dragonsteel. But no, she does not know everything off the top of her head. She definitely has documents that keep track of all this stuff.
This is a bit of a tangent, but David was at Dragonsteel this last year and he texted. He's like, "Yo, you got any questions?" And I think I sent you a couple. And one of
Yeah.
them definitely seemed like I guess it's more of a raffo, but I felt like we kind of answered some of it, which maybe we'll do in another podcast. I guess that's really, really vague. But anyway, that's cool you have those
Yeah.
conversations. What
Mm-hmm.
did you think about Kane being such a wonderful chef?
That's just fun character traits. Actually, it's not even just that he's the chef. It's that they didn't have any servants. They did all the
Yeah.
cooking and stuff themselves. Like it was really interesting that they're just like, yeah, we're whatever. We're rich or we're, leadership or whatever. We have titles, but like, nah, we're just people. We just like to cook. We like to do things our own. Well, that's just an interesting character trait that this family has. It's
Yeah,
good.
it is cool. And they have some really good world building, as always. The food is described, and it seems really cool. They've got these interesting utensils that I've never
Like
heard
chopsticks, and she couldn't use
of.
them.
Yeah. I don't think they were chopsticks. Maybe they were. Whatever they
They
were,
weren't quite chopsticks. But they were similar. They called them sticks. They said they were like, I
yeah.
can't remember the exact description, but
I
they're similar enough to chopsticks. They're a parallel to chopsticks. Where
Yeah.
she's just like, I have no idea how to use this, and it's like, well, somebody, was it him? Somebody uses a spoon, to eat because it's too
Yeah.
hard to eat with the sticks.
I think they tell her you can use a spoon.
Yeah, they're like, you can use a spoon. It's okay. It's like,
So I've got a cool prediction about this. By the way, I love that he's the cook. Okay, actually, here's a slight inconsistency. Dude, there's no shot you're gonna have a castle with no servants. I'm sorry, but
right?
you can't. Dude, I have a teeny little place. I cannot keep this place clean for the life of me. There's just no way you're gonna have a castle and not have servants. I don't know.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to
that's
block off like 6 of the wings, right? You're just gonna have to live in one little section of it.
exactly. There's just way too much maintenance. But
Yeah.
the image is there though of these people do things themselves and are not lazy.
Yeah. Which brings us into the fall of Elantris, which is cool. There's basically 2 things I wanted to mention here. So this is actually in the last chapter that we did not go over, but I'm just going to read the quote here. So this is Raedan musing over when the Riot happened. It had come with a tempest. That much even Raedan had remembered. So I guess he was like around 10-ish, you would assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's 12 years earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. The Earth itself it was 10 years earlier, but his mom died 12 years earlier.
That's what it was. There you go.
Yeah, it's all good. The Earth itself had shattered, an enormous chasm appearing in the south, of all of Arlon quaking. Okay, so that's weird. With the destruction, Elantris had lost its glory. The Elantrians had changed from brilliant white-haired beings to creatures with splotchy skin and bald scalps, like sufferers of some horrible disease in the advanced stages of decay. Elantris had stopped glowing, instead growing dark. And then this is the quote from Hunky K. He asks, so Keen asks Sereni about, do you know what happened? And he says right here, it was the servants who started the revolution, Sereni. The very day their masters fell, the servants turned on them. Some, mostly the country's current nobility, say it was because the lower class in Elantris was treated too well, that their pampered natures inspired them to cast down their former rulers at the first sign of weakness. I think it was simply fear, ignorant fear that the Elantrians had a vile disease, mixed with the terror that comes upon seeing someone you had worshipped stricken down before you. And then eventually they even kill people who were in cahoots with the Elantrians. So like if a non-Elantrian was sort of put up by an Elantrian, then they were targeted and killed as well. So it was like a really gnarly thing that happened. And that's why they no longer have servants, because they're like, yeah, we're just not gonna, we don't want to put someone in a situation. I think it was twofold, right? Like, we don't want to put someone in a situation that they feel like they have to revolt. Like, if they were so unhappy with everything and so scared, we don't want to, like, put people in that situation. But also, like, we don't want to put our family in danger, because that is not good. Basically, the last thing, I think, in this chapter is the passing of the Scions. Ash comes in, and we find out that this Scion is kind of, like, imprinted on you. It doesn't really talk about the process, but it's definitely, it says the passing of a Scion. It was one of the finest gifts a person could receive. Someday Sereni would have to pass Ash, selecting a new ward for him to watch over and care for. So watch over and care for. And so she's had it when she was born. So basically Ash has been there her entire life, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And they're still rare, and they're getting rarer, because every time somebody gets taken, their Scion goes crazy or whatever. Like, because they mentioned that in one of the other chapters.
Yeah.
When he saw the floating Scion over the city, it was just kind of like floating around. Apparently, not only are they not making more, but the ones they have are slowly, going bad with the people when they get taken.
Dude, that's actually a really good point. I was wondering what was happening to them, but that probably is what's happening to them. Just one by one.
There's not very many of them to begin with outside of, Elantris, and then one by one they're kind of going away with the people as they get taken. And so that's at least my assumption at this point, and I don't remember if there's a better explanation, but it
makes sense. One question I have is, so Ian, right, he goes the morning Raedon wakes up, he looks for Scion and they're gone. Ian is the name.
Right.
And I'm wondering how it gets to Elantris. Like, do they just get sort of sucked in because that's where they were created, and now they're like, do they migrate there for whatever reason? And what's going to happen when Raedon finds his Ian? I'm assuming he's going to find Ian at some point in Elantris. So
if he's in Elantris, right? Yeah, it's one of those things. Definitely set up for the future.
Yeah. Okay, one prediction that I have. This isn't an actual prediction. It's sort of like, this would be so cool. So you know how Raedon is just so hungry, and he's going to continue to get so hungry. It would be so cool if at the end of the day, he and Sereni get married. They live happily ever after. And when he gets out of Elantris, Hunky K makes him the most delicious food that he has ever eaten, and it fills him up. That'd be cool.
Right? That would be good. That would be nice. Being hungry that much to get some good food. There's got to be some parallels there, right? Between Sereni eating amazing, delicious, awesome food, and then Raedon just being like, man, I'm hungry.
Having nothing to eat, eating lambskin. Cool. Okay, I think we're good for that chapter. You ready to move on?
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 6. Hrathen and Dilaf discuss Iadon's rejection of Jadith, and Hrathen ponders the violent revolution of the Duladel Republic and wishes to avoid a similar outcome in Arlon. Hrathen inquires about someone who doesn't seem to fit in with the court, and Dilaf explains that is Sereni from Teod, the homeland of Shu-Korath, a competing sect that descended from the same parent religion that Shu-Dareth is derived from. Hrathen explains that Sereni could pose a problem, since she represents an alliance between Teod and Arlon that could interfere with the pending Fjordell invasion. Hrathen and Dilaf visit the boundary wall of Elantris, then return to the Dorethi Chapel, where Hrathen explains his strategy of using the fallen Elantrians as scapegoats by denouncing them as the evil Svrakis. Makes me think about Arrakis and Dune. The soul of the dead who hate Jadith, and then unifying the Arlene in hatred of Elantrians. Okay, so this chapter is pretty cool. What was your initial impressions of it? Do you have anything you wanted to...
It's it's really funny because, as Sanderson being a very religious person, putting in all this religion of not just like religion, but like the flaws of religion, where he's like, these are cousin religions derived of the same parent religion, and they hate each other, right? Like they're so mad. And then literally Hrathen goes, well, I don't need to believe this in order to teach it, because he's teaching that the Elantris are the Svrakis, right? And he's like, I don't, because Dilaf is like, wait, do you believe this? He's like, I don't need to believe it to let people logic this and teach them, and it makes enough sense that people will believe it. He's just like, that he has no problem teaching falsehoods as long as they serve his purpose, yet he also hates this cousin religion that we don't even know that much about, really, other than there's some sort of split at some point between these two religions that come from the same place. And you're just like, yeah, that's kind of how modern religion is as well, where these people all stem from the same core religion, and then you have these branches that all hate each other. And it's just like, yeah, it's interesting that you can be religious and see the flaws in religion and point them out. And you know what I mean? And it's just be like, yeah, this is how it is.
And even further, going off on your exact same point. Well, first of all, I want to say this chapter is really interesting. Not a lot happens, but it's like so, like I was actually kind of intimidated to talk about it because it's so nuanced. Like it's such an interesting relationship between Hrathen and Dilaf. And so going off what you were saying, we get two differing religious types, if that makes sense. So throughout the chapter, Dilaf says, and by the way, Dilaf is absolutely Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. Like I feel like he's Wormtongue, dude.
Oh yeah, he just
exactly, dude. Exactly. Yeah. And the word hissed is used more than once to refer to how he is speaking. He hissed it. I hate him. So he's just he's capital E evil, like I was saying when we first met him. Makes sense,
right?
But basically, this guy he keeps saying things like Lord Jadith will provide, or nothing can stand in the way of Jadith. Like almost this like youthful, naive faith, like this, like. I don't know, like another way to describe it, but basically like he doesn't really think things through. Like it's sort of these statements of doctrine that sound good, but like aren't actually true. And Hrathen has to keep like kind of guiding him. He's like, oh, well, if nothing could stop Jadith, then it would already be under his control, the entire world, right? Like there is absolutely things that can stop Jadith. And another one is he mentioned these Elantrians getting power. And he's like, well, if they had gotten power, he's like, you're speaking blasphemy. Like, don't even dare.
Right. You can't even, yeah, exactly.
It's like, don't rock the boat. Like, don't
zealotry.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on one side, we get this zealot, and that's like in text that is used to describe Dilaf.
Right. No, he is very much a zealot, a blind zealot,
And then Hrathen is no less devout. Like he is very devout. Like, he's literally a Gjorn. He believes his mission is scripture. So he's no less devout. Like he doesn't not believe these things, but he's more like pragmatic. Like he understands that things aren't as simple as, as black and white as Dilaf sees them. And he has to kind of explain that. Like he gets after Dilaf for being hateful. He's like, I think your hate is like kind of blinding you, by the way, which is interesting. So, yeah, we can't really get into all of the nuance between their relationship, but there's a lot of that in this chapter. Just like this back and forth of Dilaf being Wormtongue and Hrathen being sort of the stalwart but like almost pragmatic Templar. Like you really understand Hrathen, but Delaf again just comes across as this crazy worm tongue
Just
character.
blind zealot who just believes everything. Deloff is definitely like he's not. There's something wrong with him. You can tell there's something not right about this guy. He just blindly believes all these, propaganda doctrine, and yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So there are a couple of things I wanted to read from the chapter because they were super interesting. So this is when, oh, by the way, isn't it a little bit weird that this like random Gjorn can just go look at Elantris? Like they don't have guards keeping you from like looking down the city. Seems a little bit weird.
Right. Well, then he talked about the guards being more of a symbol
That
than
is true.
actual militarily functional. He kind of scoffs at it too. He's like, "What even are these? Like, these aren't
That is a
real
good point.
military. These aren't real guards. Like, you should see what we have in." Well, I can't remember his exact mindset, but that's or his exact phrasing. But it's basically like, "What are these children doing, pretending to be guards?"
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. He's like, "These are not actually useful. They're definitely more symbolic because it makes people sleep at night knowing that there's somebody on the wall." You know.
And to be fair, Karata has escaped more than once. So are they really doing their job?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
She's gotten caught 3 times. How many times has she actually snuck out? We have no idea.
True. She could have snuck out and snuck back in. Like, we don't know.
She could have snuck out 100 times. We don't know.
Yeah.
She got caught 3 times.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay, so this is when he's looking down. This is a cool description. Okay. So he looks down at Elantris, and he says he doubted anything could possibly be alive in the city, but then he saw some forms running furtively along the side of a building. The side of a building? I don't know if they're like sticking to the building or if it's more like the edge. I think it's the edge because we haven't seen anything
Probably
that like sticks
the
to
edge.
walls.
As far as we've seen, people aren't Spider-Man. Like, they're not just like crawling on walls.
Yet.
True. It could be. I shouldn't be leading you one way or the other.
Come on, Sully.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. They were crushed with their hands outstretched as if prepared to fall on all fours. One paused, looking up, and Hrathen saw his first Elantrian. Okay, this is pretty animalistic. Like, we haven't really seen this from Radon's perspective. It was bald, and initially Hrathen thought its skin was dark, like that of a member of the Jindo noble caste. However, he could see splotches of light gray on the creature's skin as well, great uneven pale masses, like lichen on a stone. He squinted, leaning forward against the parapet. He couldn't make out the Elantrian's eyes, but somehow Hrathen knew they would be wild and feral, darting around like those of an anxious animal. So, pretty cool description. Just like these crazy zombies running around Elantris. And yeah, so I mean, that sounds pretty close to, Sheor's men or whatever. So then, I mean, really, there's a lot we could cover on this, but I think the last thing I want to is just the end. So there's this interesting nuance where he's trying to convince Dilaf of this doctrine that they're the Svrakis. Yeah. And again, we get an insight because when he first formulates this plan he wants to convince not only the Arlons, but he wants to convince Dilaf of this. Like, this isn't something that he wants Dilaf to be a part of initially. He wants Dilaf to understand. But, of course, Dilaf kind of sees through his lies, like you said, his hypocrisy of teaching false doctrine. And he basically says, you don't actually have to believe this. So that was an interesting nuance that he was trying to trick Dilaf and it didn't work basically. So then he kind of cops out. I don't know if cops out is even the right word, but he basically explains it doesn't actually matter, right? Like, this is just how it works.
He admits that the ends justify the means.
Yes.
Where it doesn't matter if I believe it. It matters that other people believe it and we get what we need out of this, right? He has no qualms lying if it gets them what they need.
Yeah. Which then the last sort of sentence of the chapter, of course, Your Holiness, will we destroy them then? And he's talking about the Elantrians. This is what Dilaf says. There was eagerness in Dilaf's face, so he actually wants to destroy the Elantrians. Eventually, right now, we will use them. You will find that hate can unify people more quickly and more fervently than devotion ever could.
What? I've never seen that in real life used ever. What?
So Hrathen's good, dude. Like, he understands, and he even tells Dilaf at the beginning of this whole escapade. He's like, I'm gonna teach you how to bring a country to its knees, or whatever he says.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is where Sereni's judgment of him being way more dangerous than a
yeah,
military, a warrior. Like, no, you don't understand how dangerous this guy actually is.
yeah,
Um, because you can see he's undermining the entire kingdom right underneath the king.
yeah, for sure. And Serena's like the only one that sees it. There is also one last thing that I wanted to cover for Delaf. So he talks about how he really hates the Elantrians, and he says like his reasoning is like because they lied to us. I get the feeling like he definitely says he joined Shudareth before
Before.
before the fall, but I
Mhm.
think he used to be a servant of Elantris and was like maybe slighted by someone in Elantris or something. This is definitely personal. Like this isn't a
Right.
general vendetta. Like he hates something about the Elantrians personally, whether they rejected him or something happened. I don't know, but that makes me think that his main goal is like revenge, sort of. Like it seems like that's part of why he joined the priesthood of Shudareth is because he's looking for revenge against the opposing faction of religion, Shukoreth. I don't know. Something to track though.
Exactly. There, yeah. Something. There's more history with D-Love, and guess we'll have to read and find out.
Yeah. So overall, cool chapter. I like that we get the just opposing viewpoint, the nuance of religion. Like it's not as cut and dry
Right.
as religion good or religion bad. It's like, well, it's complicated and there's complicated figures and you can be a part of the same priesthood and be totally motivated by different things, even though your goal is the
Exactly.
same. So it's just like a really cool, I don't know, very sophisticated. I think Brandon kind of crushed this chapter. It's not flashy. Like there's not a bunch of cool magic, but I don't know. Like I love how this one's written. Super cool.
Exactly.
Okay, last chapter for the episode, chapter 7. Radon, after some quick lessons from Galadon in Aeondor, so Aeondor is the magic of Elantris, spends a day creating aeons that will illuminate but have no magical effects. Radon and Galadon discuss the connections between the Riod, the failure of Aeondor, and the changes to Elantris. Galadon reveals that he showed his library to Radon so that they could together try to find out how to fix what befell the Elantrians. It is Radon's third day in Elantris. Radon and Galadon go to the entry courtyard that connects Kai to Elantris to await new arrivals. They see Hrathen atop the boundary wall and speculate about what his presence means. Radon uses fear to guide a new Elantrian, a former jeweler named Marishi, away from Sheor's gang into a building that was set up as a trap so that the gang could be eluded. Raedon explains to Marishi about the circumstances of Elantrian life and asks him to become a shoe cobbler, since shoes can protect their unhealing feet from wear and tear. Raedon adopts the alias of Spirit, which is the translation of the Aeon Reo, so Raedon. Marishi recognizes Raedon, but Raedon denies that Marishi ever saw him previously. So, yeah, pretty cool. We
Yep.
get some magic, dude.
It's really interesting to see how quickly Rayoden picks it up and he understands it and he's like using it and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So he's educated, clearly. He understands
Mhm.
what the aeons are, what they represent, and he's super proficient in drawing them. But yeah, they just straight up don't work, which is interesting. It makes me wonder how many other Elantrians, like if you're an Elantrian and you just like randomly, do this in the sky, like is something going to light up and you're like, what was that? Or do you have to have intent behind it? It kind of goes into this. It actually says like there's nothing mystical or there's like you just draw it in the air. Like it seemed like that was the case. So I wonder how many accidental, Elantrians within Elantris now have accidentally almost drawn an Aeon, but didn't
I'm
quite
sure there has
understand
to be
how.
intention since intent is one of those capital I words in the Cosmere. So maybe,
You're probably
but
right.
I don't think you could accidentally like wave a finger and draw an Aeon in the air, you know?
Yeah.
I think you have to I would imagine so, but yeah, I don't know.
I think I'm gonna go off of the intent too. It just seems likely. It
Just
seems
seems
unlikely
in
that you would.
magic, like knowing what you're doing,
Yeah.
you have to kind of know, or at least for a launcher. So, for example, you know, with like Stormlight, I guess super minor spoilers, but we've already talked about how we do reference other stuff in the Cosmere. But this is basically like you can not know what you're doing and still use Stormlight, where this Aeon stuff seems very intentional,
Hmm.
very drastic differences in how the magic systems work, like, physically drawing symbols in the air versus, oh, like stuff kind of happens around me
It's a
sometimes.
good point. Yeah, and so we find out that Galadon has been to Elantris before the fall. We don't get too much of it, but he's like, I didn't always stay in Dula del Suli. And then Radon has an experience where he had a broken leg. His
Mm-hmm.
mother wanted to bring him to Elantris, and his dad said no, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means. But he goes to Elantris and he gets his leg fixed, and someone draws an Aeon, and he's like totally fine in like 5 seconds. Like it just heals his leg. So
Right.
so he has seen the magic work, as presumably has Galadon, and so I think that's probably why Galadon
Right.
tried to use it initially, is because he's like, I've seen this work, by the way. Like, what if I try this? Holy crap, it actually did something. It just didn't like produce magic. So yeah, pretty cool. I like where this is going. I don't really have any theories of what befell Aeondor, the magic, but it has something to do with that chasm in the south, whatever that was. Something was released or something was taken away. I don't know, but it seems like
Something happened, right? And it's just like, oh, like definitely related. Why? Everybody agrees that was the timeline.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool.
pretty
One
cool.
quick one little parallel that is really interesting between this chapter and the last chapter, between Raoden and Freithen, that I picked up on, was kind of the little white lies to get people to do what you need them to, because he
Mm,
tricked the cobbler into thinking they saved his life so that he owed them. And him and
yeah.
Gallatin are like, what was that? What was all that? Well, now he thinks, we saved him and we can use that, right? Where Hrathen was doing, well, now they think that they're evil, we can use that. And they're definitely different. One's more of a white lie than the other, but like you can see they're both okay using people's perceptions of truth to use that to their advantage. Um, right? I just saw that and I'm like, both of them are like kind of fibbing on the truth in order to get what they need. And I'm like, that's kind of an interesting parallel that I didn't catch the first couple times I read this.
I
And
didn't
it's like,
catch that. That's cool. I do like that. Yeah.
interesting, right? But yeah, they're gonna try to get shoes.
Yeah. Okay. I got a complaint here. I got a complaint, Brandon. The benefit of having shoes does not far outweigh the detriment of running as fast as you can through Elantris, slimy as it is. Dude, it just there's something about how 2 3 chapters ago they were being so slow and so careful because they didn't want to, and now they're just like full out sprinting. And by the way, Galadon doesn't know what's going on, so like the chances of him hitting something are like pretty high. I don't know. I can't imagine all three of them would run as fast as they could through a like sewage infested slimy city and not get seriously injured. Like that just seems. I got a little complaint
Yeah,
about that. It's a little bit like,
it's
come on.
yeah, exactly. After talking about how careful you have to be, now they're doing mad dashes and
Yeah, it just seems a
it,
little bit. I don't know the right
risky.
word. Yeah,
It's overly, yeah, like the cost risk analysis of sprinting through the city
yeah,
versus what rewards you would get, like, does not add up. You're like,
yeah.
what? No.
And also, what are the chances that these guys came out of that dash unscathed? I mean, it does say that Radon got some scratches on his hand, but I'm surprised they didn't smack into a wall and break an arm or something.
Right. Yeah, it's the likelihood of that happening is pretty high.
Yeah.
It's, At a certain point, you just have to. It's like when you're watching an action movie and you're like, "How did that guy not die 12 different
Yeah.
ways?" You're like, "I don't know. It's an action movie. Just enjoy it."
Just chill. Yeah, no, and that's how I feel. It doesn't ruin the book for me at all. And again, this is Brandon's early work, so there might be some small little things that are like, maybe that wouldn't have been in Stormlight.
Yeah, and he fully admits multiple times later on that there's so many things in his earlier books that now he wished he had changed or done
Hmm.
differently, because now he's like, oh man, if I had just planted these seeds, or if I had these characters do this instead of that, like it'd be perfectly set up for this better story. And at a certain, just to realize, yeah, I'm gonna write what I'm gonna write. You can never make it perfect. You can't
Never.
please everybody. And especially his brain, he's always got the next story already kind of formulating, and like you just can't spend too much time perfecting it. You got to
Exactly.
just get it on paper and keep going. And I fully respect that he chooses, you know, quantity over quality with an asterisk. He makes it good enough
Yeah.
to get the story out there. He never puts a book out there that he's not comfortable being like, this is the story I wanted to tell. But he definitely doesn't pull like a Patrick Rothfuss or George R. R. Martin, where they spend decades trying to perfect the next book to the point where it's like people like don't even care anymore that they're still working. Like, are you even working on this book? Like, we don't even,
Yeah.
like, this book is going to have to be the best thing ever written by humanity in order to be worth the decade long you know break it took you to write this book. Like, it will never be that good no matter what. People are going to be disappointed, and you've set yourself up for failure, which is probably part of why those books aren't coming out. Kind of going on a tangent here, and with like strict deadlines and being like, you know what, this is the book I wanted to write. It works well enough. Sure, you can nitpick and find some things, but like, it's still a good story. You're still going to enjoy it. And then I've got another one coming out next year too.
One thing that I really like that Brandon does do, and you mentioned this, it's all diminishing returns, right? So like once you get 80% perfect, the last 20% is going to take you twice as long, it's just the same amount of time as the
Right.
first 80%. And so it's absolutely worth it to just get it good enough, like whatever that means. And I think you're
Hmm.
right, dude. He's so good at that. And that's why we have so much content to read. And
Oh, exactly.
it's so amazing.
And I'm not throwing shade too much, other than I know the three of them tease each other, right, all the
Yeah.
time. And so I know that that's more of a joke at this point. And I have read Rothfuss's books, and they are phenomenal, like well written books with like amazing prose and stuff like that. But like, it's been a decade. When is the next one coming out? Like, it's frustrating as a fan of an author where you're like, I have 2/3 of a story here, and I just will never know how it ends.
Yeah,
And
dude.
it's, as a fan, it gets frustrating, you know?
I
And
will. I
I
will. Okay, you
appreciate.
know what, dude? I'm gonna throw shade. George, let's finish these books, man. I want to know what happens. What happens to Jon Snow? Yeah, dude.
Exactly. As a fan, it can be really frustrating,
Yeah,
and so yeah, I think it's one of the reasons people like Sanderson, even if his prose is not as good as Rothfuss, even if his like, I've never actually watched the show or read George R. R. Martin. I probably should at least try some of it, but like, it's, you know what I mean. I hear so many wonderful things about how good of a writer he is, and even Sanderson admits that George R. R. Martin is probably the best writer alive and way better than he is. But like, if you're not putting out books, how much weight does that carry? Yeah, you can be the
yep.
best at something, but if you're not doing anything with it, like, what does it matter? But I'm not. They're so different. All three of them are so very different, and it's nice having constant output and consistent output, even if the quality kind of goes like this sometimes. Some books are better than others. All of them, I don't know if I've read a book from Sanderson that's not at least like a 7 out of 10, right? I've definitely have read books that are 7 out of 10, but like, I they're constantly at least quality stories,
Yeah,
even if not the best book ever written.
exactly. One thing that I think is really interesting is so like George R. R. Martin, right? He talks about how he's not even going to have someone finish the story, like, and obviously there's all these discussions about how the end of the show is actually the way it should have been, and he just kind of told them, I don't know how true that is, I don't know. I don't think it's been confirmed. I'm definitely not a diehard fan. I know my brother is,
I
but
haven't even read or watched anything, so you're talking
yeah.
to the wrong person about Martin's works.
So this might actually be the wrong people to talk about this. In the case that we're super wrong, we apologize. But one thing that I really appreciate about Brandon is he not only, finished someone else's works, the Wheel of Time, but I don't think he's going to leave us hanging. Like, he's got this stuff planned out. Like, if something happens to him, it'll be picked up. And there's something so
Right.
refreshing about that with these stories that we love so much. Right. Like, I'm never going to, again, spoiler, I'm never going to find out what happens to Jon Snow. Like, really what happens to Jon Snow, which is super disappointing. If it was similar, right? Like, if Brandon died at the end of Rhythm of War and we just did not know what happened to Kaladin or Shallan, like that, how crappy would that be? So I don't know.
He
I appreciate the mindset that Sanderson's got.
and just for the record, if in case people watching this don't know, Sanderson has everything outlined as far as the major Cosmere. The ending is planned. He has an ending. It is written down. He has friends and other authors that he already has lined up if something were to happen to him. So he has contingencies. Like if he got hit by a bus, that would suck, right? But the stories would eventually be told because he's planned for it. And I think having worked on the Wheel of Time and having to finish it with Robert Jordan's notes that were incomplete, I think that might have had I don't know. I'll have to ask him next time I see him.
So Elantris is gonna have some of those weird inconsistencies. Like, let's make a mad dash,
And
even though,
especially this early in his
yeah,
career,
yeah.
it's gonna have stuff, and it's just like, yeah, it's a book, it's story, it's fantasy. It doesn't mess with the overall experience. But it's just, I think it's fun to see that he's still human.
Yeah. So one of the things I really like about the end of this chapter is we get Radon's POV, right? But we still
Mhm.
don't know what he's thinking necessarily. Like, sometimes we do. Like, we will have snapshots where he thinks about Serenity, he thinks about his buddies, but we don't know what's his end game, right? He's trying to recruit somehow, and I don't know how long you can keep recruiting. Like, is he just looking for shoes? Is he looking to keep doing this? Like, is he looking to be a fourth
What
gang in Elantris? Like, we don't
what
know.
yeah, what is he planning with? Because like what even options are available, There's
Yeah,
so much you are limited by in Elantris, and he's planning something. Anyways,
yeah.
Raiden is an interesting character, and he's kind of cool to follow and see what he does.
I will tell you this: you probably can't poke the Sheol bear too many times before you just get hunted. It's like, basically, eventually
Yeah.
they're gonna see you in the courtyard and just start attacking before you have a chance to go up to the new person.
Right,
Um,
right, exactly. Like you're messing with the status quo. People are not just going to sit there and let it happen.
yeah. Which, by the way, this is an interesting way to decide who gets to get the food. It's which way do they step? It's not. It's not
Which
like
direction did they
It's
go?
not like they divvy it out. It's not like they're like, okay, every third person is Sheors. Every second, they don't do that. It's like, which way does it? Almost like
Because
leaving
it's
it up
it's
to
it's more
fate.
territorial, right? Like it's more like animalistic territory, where it's
Yeah, that
like
makes
they
sense
they don't
actually.
want to step on each other's territory, and so they wait to see where that person goes, because you can imagine if somebody goes right and then somebody else goes and intercepts it, like it's going to cause more conflict. So I think from my perspective, it's an uneasy territorial, like we'll let the person decide, because they've probably lost a ton of people fighting over it over time and time again. And I bet taking a broken arm in a fight one too many times, you stop wanting to like be that brutal because of the consequences. It's not like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we got bruised up and we're better a week later. It's like, the cost of getting in a physical altercation with one of the other gangs is so high. You want to try to limit it.
yeah. Cool. I think that's all for the chapters. I think I
Mhm.
am cool going on to a Cosmere discussion if you're interested. I don't have too
Yeah,
much.
I'm always good. I love the bigger Cosmere.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and end the Elantris here, and basically we'll just talk about the Cosmere in general. As always, I've read Stormlight, Mistborn Era 1, Warbreaker. So we won't go over those. I don't have too much today. Really, the only thing is, how did the Scions join the Ghostbloods? I don't know. I think we've kind of talked about this before, but we now know the process of a Scion going to like a master. Is that the right phrase? Like a Scion passing down to the next person. And the Scions in Stormlight seem kind of loosey-goosey. I went ahead and reread the section at the end of Stormlight 5, Wind and Truth, when Shallan is talking. So she's in Shadesmar, and she finds Felt, and she's like, yo, can I talk to Thydakar? And they use Alay, and she's like, hey, can I like have this Scion, or, you know, use this Scion? And Thydakar has this phrase, he says, she's not a slave, but if you are okay with giving me information, you can definitely use her. And then, oh, by the way, this is another follow-up. You mentioned, I think, in episode 1, where we thought that Wit or Hoyd had a Scion, and definitely did. So in that chapter, Shallan asks, hey, what about your other Scion? I can't remember the name, but apparently before Hoyd was vaporized, he sent the Scion to go to the Shattered Plains for some reason. We're not sure why. And Shallan says, okay, tell the Scion to change gears and go to Azamir because I want to talk to my husband. And so that is, you know, presumably going to happen in the next book. But it's interesting because they again, they seem a little bit loosey-goosey. Like they don't necessarily have like a master. Although maybe they do. Maybe Felt is the master of Alay. Or maybe it's Thydakar. I don't know.
It definitely, and you know, it definitely feels like Aele is a little bit different. She seems independent, whereas we see, you know, like Ash with Serene is very much like, I'm here to help you with whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And Aele is like, I do my own thing, you know? And Thydakar says, you're not a slave, right?
Maybe it's only Alay. Maybe the other ones have masters.
My interpretation is that Alay is different and does not have like a bond with a person the way that the other ones do, but we don't really know. But that's my interpretation.
That makes sense. That's cool. So yeah, and obviously the questions are, you know, how did they join the Ghostbloods? We have no idea yet.
So much information we don't know about the Ghostbloods, especially you, Mr. hasn't read Mistborn Era 2 or Secret History or anything, or any of the other secret projects and stuff. I'm trying to even remember how much Ghostbloods is in any of that. Not as much as the other stuff for sure, but
we will be getting a series called Ghostbloods. So I know that there's
you know that, which is crazy. That like he's just like, by the way, this is the name of the series. Mistborn Era 3 is Ghostbloods. You're like, thanks for the spoilers, I guess. Like, not. I mean, if you're this far into it, it's very heavily hinted at that there's something going on with Scadrial and the Ghostbloods.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I think that's everything. And do you have anything else to say before we close?
Oh, it's just been fun. I love these conversations. I love deep diving into this and talking about it because there's so much in the Cosmere and there's so much in these stories that it is much more fun to deep dive into it and talk about it and really learn more about these characters, and watching your journey through it is fascinating. So I'm hoping some other people can have some fun doing this.
Yeah, and as always, thanks for being the guide and the voice of wisdom, he who knows all things.
AKA has the copper mind open in front of him.
That's awesome. Well, guys, we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.